Hey guys, we're in Tsawwassen, British Columbia, and we're checking out Pedego Delta here. I'm with the owner, Murray. How's it going, buddy?
Good, welcome, Court.
Thank you so much. I'm loving your shop. I mean, it's beautiful around here. There's lots of places to ride. I think you guys do rentals and stuff too, right?
Absolutely. We have people going around Boundary Bay, enjoying the natural wonders here.
Oh, I love it. I love the mural too. Today we're checking out the Pedego Avenue. It's one of the most affordable models from them. It comes in the step-through as well as high step, a bunch of colors. We've got like crocodile green, Caribbean blue, and then there's this gunmetal gray. They set this one up with a suspension fork. There are fenders, there's racks, lots of options, but again, it's a little bit more affordable. One of the things I really like about Pedego is that they have an excellent warranty. It's like 5 years, and if you buy it from the shop, you might get to try it, but they also, you know, they set it up right, and then they're gonna be able to help maintain it over time. So the Avenue comes in two different frame styles. We got the high step, there's the step through, a little bit more approachable, and there's kind of a sizing difference here too. I measured the seat tube on the step through as about 17 inches, high steps 19 inches. So yeah, there's going to be a higher minimum saddle height. The overall length was fairly similar. But it's neat to have those options and a bunch of different colors and stuff. I mean, Pedego is really known for that, and they have just gone above and beyond with the accessories. These are the optional steel fenders. They've got a rear rack, 25 kilogram weighted, that's 55 pounds, pretty solid, and a front rack that looks really cool. It's 10 kilograms rated, so, you know, 22 pounds. The thing is, it's going to impact your steering a little bit if you get that one because it's connected to the fork versus this steer tube right there. So other than that, there's integrated lights you can get. They've got a suspension fork. They said it's 80 millimeters of travel, and it's got preload and kind of hydraulic lockout option. We've got the magnesium rims, which add a little bit of weight but improve the strength of the wheel. You don't have to true them as much like spokes. But I should say, look at these black spokes. These are 36 hole rims with 12 gauge spokes, like super thick. I feel like these bikes are really burly and sturdy. Officially, they're weighted to handle up to 250 pounds of like rider plus cargo weight. Maybe they're kind of being conservative on that, but you know, that's the official word. They also have an optional suspension post, so 27.2 millimeter diameter here, very standard. And then imagine if you had the fork plus the seat post, you'd really feel comfortable on these. As it ships, like this is as pretty much as stock as you can get, except it has the fenders added. It's a rigid frame, right? And it has this rigid, custom, color-matched fork here with standard hub spacing, 100 millimeters. And I just love, again, it's got the braze-ons here to add that front rack. I don't think you can do it if you have the optional suspension fork. So that's one of the trade-offs you'd want to think about. And you do feel some of the bumps and rocks on this. These are higher pressure tires. They're rated 40 to 65 PSI, and these are 28 by 2, so 2-inch diameter. They're not as narrow as a road tire, but they're not like a plus size, you know, balloon tire you might see on some of the other Pedego bikes. Being a 28-inch wheel, you get that lower attack angle, so it smooths some of the cracks and bumps out a little bit more. Overall, it's not too bad, but it's a bit more rigid and it's kind of stripped down. I think the weight on the bike is about 48 pounds if it didn't have the fenders. And that's not too bad, but it's a little heavier than expected. Given that, you know, if it was just like naked. I've seen some other bikes that are a little bit lighter weight, and of course it is going to make a difference which battery you get. This one actually just has the 48 volt 10.5 amp hour, just kind of the stock battery, about 504 watt hours, and that weight is really well distributed. It's low, it's centered on the frame, and maybe even a little bit forward, which balances out that hub motor. That's probably about an 8-pound hub motor. It's about 6.5 pounds for the battery. I love that both frames have bottle cage bosses, so they're right there on the top tube for the step through, and then way down here on the seat tube for the high step. And the drivetrain is pretty decent on this. This is 7-speed, 12 to 32 tooth cassette Shimano, and then we've got the microSHIFT derailleur down here with the barrel adjuster, so if you hear it clicking, you can adjust that a little bit. You don't have to take it to the shop right away. Didn't see a slap guard, which is a bit disappointing considering how nice and beautiful this frame is. You can buy a neoprene slap guard aftermarket, or you could use some clear box tape to protect this part of the frame. But I should point out that even the rims are color matched, so part of what makes these look so special and cool, again, is just the fun, bright colors. Coming up to the shifters, you can see there's a little optical window so you know which gear you're in, and then you've kind of got a multi-shift for the low gears, which is nice. That's something I've seen on some of the Shimano shifters that I really appreciate, but these are not two-way, so you kind of have to use your thumb in both cases, which is fine because then I'm using my fingers for the brakes up here. It all balances out really well, and I feel like they've organized the cockpit pretty well, considering you have just extra wires for motor inhibitors on both brake levers, plus the twist throttle. You've got the button pad over here on the left and the trigger throttles on the right. It's really pretty clean, and of course everything is internally routed through the frame. Coming down here to the bottom bracket, you can see there's the cadence sensor, 170 millimeter crank arms, very standard, and then these plastic Welgo platform pedals. They're a little bit wider than some of the cage pedals that I see from other companies, maybe not as sturdy as an aluminum alloy pedal, but these are very affordable to upgrade and replace. They even have colored aluminum alloy Welgo pedals. Over here is a 45 tooth steel chainring. It's standard, it's not narrow wide or anything, but it does have the aluminum alloy guide, which keeps the chain from falling off, and it protects the bottom bracket if you hit a log or a curb or something. So I really like how that's set up. I also like the kickstand. It's adjustable length, so you can get the bike stabilized perfectly, and it's not going to collide with the cranks or the pedals because it's positioned far enough back. I do want to point out that even though I've left the key in, you really don't have to. You can ride with it out. I just didn't want to lose it, and since it folds down like this, it actually stays out of the way pretty nicely. And then here at the back, you can see the motor. This is Planetary geared hub motor. It's rated at 500 watts nominal and 60 newton meters of peak torque, 45 newton meters nominal. It's pretty good. I mean, you do hear kind of the because it's a geared hub motor, but it's not too bad. It says they have an 18 watt sine wave controller, so it's a little bit fancier. Some of the electronics are going to be a bit smoother. Back up here to the cockpit and the brakes and stuff, I really like these levers. They remind me of Tektro. They may or may not be, but they have the rubberized front edge, and they've got this integrated bell, so you can really just get very comfortable. They're not as cold if it's early morning. The rubber sort of, it just doesn't feel as harsh on the skin, and the 4 fingers means you can really get a powerful grip on these, which is nice because they are mechanical brakes. And for that rear brake especially, I mean, that wire has to go all the way down from the frame, and you'll notice that sometimes with mechanical brakes, over time they gum up a little bit, or it just takes more effort for that rear brake. Also, the way this is positioned, water can kind of condense on there, or dust, and then it kind of drain into the housing, unfortunately, instead of having it perfectly flat or at the kind of a downward angle. Not the end of the world, but I guess I'm just pointing it out as I see it. And then over here, I do love that the motor power cable is on the left side of the bike. It's not sticking out from the derailleur and really exposed over there. It's just tucked right there next to the frame, next to these really large 180 millimeter rotors. So the larger rotor gives you a better mechanical advantage over the larger wheel, and just helps stop the extra weight of maybe you and some cargo, something like that. So it's also got some more cooling capacity because there's more surface area. And in general, I think for, you know, this price point and stuff, kind of makes sense. And again, with the motor inhibitors, you're just going to cut power to that motor instantly whenever you need to stop. And that's really nice in terms of safety. As I was looking at the wheels and thinking about safety, you know, I love that they've got these pre-slimed, meaning if you do get a puncture, it's kind of self-seals, but I didn't see puncture-resistant rating on the tires themselves, and I don't see reflective sidewall stripes. So, you know, if you get this gunmetal gray, it's a fairly dark colored bike, and I probably would strongly consider adding the lights, or maybe have a helmet with a light on it, or some reflective gear, just to be extra safe, since, you know, it's kind of a darker looking bike. And now I want to spend a few minutes and just show you the charger and the battery. So this is the charger. It's branded, doesn't have a fan or anything. It's pretty compact and lightweight at about 1.3 pounds, 48 volt, 2 amps. So I'd say it's fairly standard in terms of the speed at which it charges, but I like the colored cable. So I wanted to take the battery off, and you can see the locking core down here. We just twist it, and then the battery clunks out to that first position. You'll notice that the key, it kind of bends to the side, which is nice because it's right there in the path of the crank arm. It doesn't actually snag, but, you know, it is fairly low, a little bit vulnerable in this area, and that's also where the charging port is for the battery. And if that was plugged in, you can see how it would potentially get snagged. That cable just has a plastic end piece, And I feel like, again, it's a little bit vulnerable. I don't love having to bend way down, especially on the non-drivetrain side of the bike, because it kind of tips this way. You'll see the kickstand down here. You could hit your head on the handlebar too. So just, you know, take your time. You kind of got to get down on a knee like this and plug it in. I wish that that was up high on the right-hand side of the bike. It'd be a little bit easier to reach, but this is not uncommon in the e-bike space. So anyway, now that the battery is unlocked, you come down here and there's another little lever, and you kind of got to slide that down, and I'm trying to do it safely. There we go. Kind of a two-hand deal. This weighs about 6.4 pounds, and again, it's the 48 volt 10.5 amp hour pack. If you paid more, you could get 48 volt 14 amp hour for a higher capacity battery. But that said, you're going to add about 1.5 pounds. I think it's 7.8 pounds for that one. They are modular, so it just fits into the same part of the frame, and that could be a nice little upgrade if you plan to go farther, if you use that twist throttle a whole lot or those higher levels of assist. These packs are full of 18650 size lithium ion cells from high-end manufacturers, and again, being able to offer that 5-year warranty is pretty good. It instills a lot of confidence, and having such a modular pack like this. Extreme cold, that's going to temporarily stunt your range, so you won't go as far, and extreme heat over time kind of degrades the cells, so you don't get as many full charge cycles. And for that reason, they recommend storing it in a cool, dry location. So whether it's the bike with the battery left on, or you have to park the bike in your garage or outside or something, at least you can bring the battery in and charge it really easily. Putting the battery back on is very similar. We are coming from below, and you can see, especially if you have the fenders, it's a little bit tight, so I've turned the wheel to the side a little bit. These are steel fenders, by the way, so if they get scratched over time, you could end up with some rust. I would be careful with that. And then once it's aligned, just kind of push up like that. I love it clicks into position. We didn't have to do anything with the key. In fact, you can get it all the way to that second step and then take the key out, and we're ready to go. Once the battery is all charged and mounted, come up to the display and press that power button. It's a grayscale display. You can tilt it a little bit. It's not removable. Up at the top, we've got like a power meter, so it shows, you know, how much energy that motor's putting out. A 5-bar battery infographic, and I'd like to see 10 bars or maybe percentage to be more precise, but this is fairly common. Over here we have speed. It's in miles per hour right now. Assist, so 0 is nothing. It's just a regular bike. Maybe you're powering some integrated lights if you get those. And I should mention there's a USB port on the bottom too. So I think that's 5 volts, 600 milliamps. If we want to activate that, we hold power and plus for a couple seconds. You can see the little icon. So anyway, it's like a regular bike. The throttle doesn't even work. Then we have 5 levels of assist, which press the plus button. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then if we go to 6, well, that's throttle only mode, which is kind of cool. There's a lot here. And I should mention that the throttle gives you full power, so you can override any of these lower levels of assist, which is handy if you're like trying to conserve energy or just have a comfortable cadence, but then you need to catch up to your friends or, you know, scramble up a little hill. I really like the way this is set up. And then over here we have some trip stats. So it's odometer right now. If we press the power button, we go to trip distance, time, max speed, and then back to odometer. If we hold the plus button for a couple seconds, that's actually how you activate the lights if we had lights integrated, if we'd gotten some of those optional lights, but this still makes the display backlit, so that's kind of neat. And then if we hold the minus button, we get walk mode, which again, especially with the racks and stuff, that could be really helpful if you're, you know, making your way through a crowded park or something like that. And the final little area here is the settings menu. If we hold plus and minus, there's a bunch of different menus, and you can navigate through them by tapping power. And you can see like the top speed, wheel size, and then miles per hour or kilometers per hour. We just press the plus or minus to adjust that. And yeah, continuing forward, a bunch of different menus. When you're ready to get out, hold plus and minus again simultaneously, and we're back to the main menu. Maybe it's time to go for a ride. I've really enjoyed the suspension on that one, but I'm trying to cover kind of the stock model so you know exactly what to expect. I'm just going to pedal along. I'm in assist level 2 and see how it goes. Okay, yeah, I can hear the buzzing a little bit, and I'm guessing, you know, turn it up to level 5 here. Yep, pretty traditional hub motor action. It's pretty responsive. Going through some of this deep gravel here, and I'm really thankful for those slightly wider 2-inch tires. It's fairly comfortable and stable, right? Not too bad. I'm not getting frame flex, and I'm not losing control here. It does take like maybe half a revolution for that cadence sensor to kick in, and if you're in a really high gear, the pedaling is slower, and so it takes a little bit longer for it to start. And that's why the twist throttle is so nice. Just ease into it like that, right? Love that. So this is a great option if you're like me and you have sensitive knees, you're starting from standstill and maybe you forgot to shift down to a lower gear. Again, I'm a big fan of having that option, but for people who don't want to, you know, mess with that, or you're worried you might bump it, you can unplug that. You can even completely remove it if you want to. So there's just a lot of choices here. Nice. Brakes work pretty well. Everything's tuned perfectly. Beautiful. Yeah, I'm enjoying the suspension fork on this one. They did a great job choosing it. I love that it's adjustable. It takes the edge off if you go off a curb or kind of hit a crack unexpectedly. Well guys, I think that's about it. I had a blast here with Murray, Boundary Bay. Check out Pedego Delta if you're in the area. All these Pedego dealers are just tons of fun. Everyone's really nice, and it's kind of peace of mind. You do pay a little bit more buying from a dealer, but I think there's like 225 dealers in North America, well, US, and then maybe 15 dealers in Canada, which is great. I think they also sell online, but they'll fulfill it through a dealer, so they're doing a great job supporting those guys. Back at ElectricBikeReview.com, I have a comparison tool so you can look at the bikes back to back. There's also a forum, so you can ask people what the best accessories are and how the bike is holding up, because they've actually owned it. I've just had a fun day riding around the beach. As usual, this review is free. I'm just having fun hanging out and trying to connect you guys with the cool new bikes. Ride safe out there, have fun, and we'll see you next time.